Otaku Taku. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Otaku Taku podcast. Insert, hype music, I guess. But, basically, we're back today with another episode. We were trying to do these, like, once every 2 weeks, kind of. But, last week I didn't have good internet, so we weren't able to record, so this is gonna be up a bit late. However, today's episode we're going over an anime that was acclaimed to be the best anime of 2019 and the decade. It's Demon Slayer. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Yes.
Certainly got anime of the year.
Yeah.
Got anime of the year.
It's definitely an anime with a lot
Gotta
of
love
hype around it, which is a cool thing.
Oh
because
yeah.
then
It
definitely
it was one of those big hype machines like Attack on Titan when
Yeah,
it first came. It started out. Go ahead, Quinlan.
Yeah, like, the thing about, like, hype around stuff like this is it generally holds, like, people accountable for, producing, like, follow-up seasons and that kind of stuff and finishing what they started. Because, what happened with another one of Aniplex's titles called God Eater is that they were planning to do a season 2. It's just that after, like, delays and stuff in production and stuff, there wasn't as much hype going into a season 2. However, it is still...
Yeah, I heard God Eater was on like a hiatus.
Yeah, it was for quite a while. Although it was pretty good, and the animation is very good. Just like the animation in Demon Slayer is. It's very top-notch.
Yeah, beautifully animated by Studio Ufotable. Well, that's like the reason why it got a lot of attention when the trailers first came out. I remember when the first trailer for Demon Slayer came out, I was like, if it's by Ufotable, it's probably going to be very beautifully animated. And so when the first episode came out, I thought, well, maybe I'll come back to this later because this isn't really catching my attention. So I put it off. I put it off for a long time. And then when I found out that Demon Slayer was going to be airing on Toonami on Adult Swim, that's when I said, you know what, let's watch Demon Slayer. I watched the first episode a long time ago. And so what I actually did was, I was traveling at the time in Florida when the Demon Slayer anime aired in October on Adult Swim. So I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time in my hotel room just to watch the first episode of Demon Slayer on the TV.
Nice. Yeah, see how I, like, actually found the series was, like, I think I put it on my list or whatever a while back, and then I heard about, like, what happened with, like, episode 19 and stuff, because that, like, episode blew up on Twitter, and basically that was
yeah,
big driver.
Demon Slayer ended up trending on Twitter. I actually was like, checking out my Twitter
twice
page.
Actually, it trended the first time, which was the biggest with episode 19, and then with episode 26 it was trending again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I continue, and then when I watched a few more episodes on Adult Swim, like when they were airing, and then I lost my connection on Adult Swim because I have a cable provider, and then very recently I signed back into Adult Swim, and by then the final episode was set to air in the next few days. So I said, I'm gonna binge this, and I binged it.
Yeah.
I binged the rest of the episodes of Demon Slayer. I started in episode 1, where I watched 3 times now, and then just watched all of it through.
Nice. That's how you watch anime, though. At least that's the best way to watch anime.
Yeah, I put it off for like maybe a couple times, and then I finally binge it.
Cause like the episode format, in terms of like shows like normal shonens, they always stretch like the like kind of stories. It's what it seems like, because they always like they're weekly or whatever, and like the whole season's like over the whole year or whatever. But during that time, like, there's maybe like 3 or 4 fights or whatever, but like those fights last like a month or something before you get like the actual full fight. And then it just goes up on YouTube as full fight. And then you can actually watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Demon Slayer fights. I think the longest fight in Demon Slayer was I think around
They're not
2 or
even a
3
full
episodes.
episode. They're not really like
No,
in
they
terms
weren't.
of like an episode worth of actual fighting and whatever. They're not really an episode of fighting, because the thing with Demon Slayer is there's definitely an aspect of world building, but it's not so much in terms of the actual world. It's more like the characters and like the lore about what kind of was going on. So they always tie in a bunch of things with flashbacks, which in episode 19 is when Tanjiro, I think, has a flashback to like his dad or something using the like sun breathing form. However, I'm not sure like what his dad actually did or whatever, because like, yeah, there's definitely a lot
Okay.
of lore that is set up by episode 19.
All right. So I think we're gonna start our actual in-depth view now. So
Yes, that was
why don't you give a
that
brief
was
introduction?
the like 20-minute intro. Just kidding. It was only like 6 minutes maybe.
So yeah, why don't you give us a brief little summary of what Demon Slayer is supposed to be about for those of you who have never watched it. By the way,
Well,
there
I
will be a
think that
spoiler
should
part
have
in this
gone
video,
before the
so
intro, so this is extended intro time.
yeah.
I'll put like a official Otaku Taku extended intro or something. That'll be fun to animate or whatever.
It's gonna be a pain in the butt to edit though.
But yeah, basically Demon Slayer is a show about a dude that he fights demons because his sister gets attacked and his family dies except his sister, who turns into a demon. And he basically is like, yo, I'm gonna go hunt down the big boy demon boy that killed my family. And he's like, wow, I gotta go somewhere. And he's like, I forget if like he actually gets sent in a direction by someone. I forget. But he basically ends up with that like old man dude who trains him, and then basically he
Kodaki.
runs down a mountain, and that's the hypest part of the whole show. Just kidding. Basically,
I think that was before all the hype came in. I think the hype came in the second half of its runtime.
Like I was already hype going into the training arc. I was already like so hyped for the show because it was like so well animated, and it was like the sword fighting anime I needed, because
yeah,
like in terms of like sword fighting animes, like my two favorite are probably Fate and Demon Slayer, I would say.
Mm-hmm. But usually Fate doesn't use a lot of swords. But I think what makes Demon Slayer very visually pleasing in sword fighting is the way that Ufotable uses each frame and how it's perfectly hand drawn to fit the environment.
Yeah, because what like they did with like the artwork and stuff in it is that they literally take like the best frames from like the manga and stuff, because the author has drawn some like pretty detailed kind of stuff. It's just that usually in like weekly shonens and that kind of stuff, it doesn't like always translate with every single frame you get. And so like with the manga,
yeah, but the problem
there's
with
definitely more of a personality to the manga than there is the show. Like the show isn't a piece of art, and it's like the piece of art from the manga, but it's like slightly different. Like the atmosphere feels more serious with the show than it does with the manga, except in the parts
I will
where
mention
it doesn't. In like the fights where stuff goes
I will
down,
mention
like yo.
I will mention that before the anime ever came out for Demon Slayer, it was actually on the verge of getting canceled from Weekly Shonen Jump because it wasn't getting a lot of popularity. It wasn't until the anime came out that it became the best-selling manga of all time
Yes.
in terms of manga sales.
Need to improve your manga sales? Anime!
Well, isn't actually just go to Ufotable.
Well, yeah, like anything by Ufotable or anything by any well-known studio will pretty much get you popularity, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look how Sword Art Online was. It wasn't very popular until its anime came out, and then holy crap, it was popular. It was everywhere.
Yeah, because it was like stuff that people had like heard about probably. Like even if it wasn't very popular, like stuff still generally gets around the community or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's what this is, and it's like, hey, this sounds like a cool premise.
But
I'm
we,
gonna watch it, and then they start watching it,
yeah,
and then they're like, wow, okay, this show is definitely interesting, and it
but
became popular.
we'll leave we'll leave Sword Art Online for
Yes,
another
that
podcast.
that would be a nice podcast to do after the after or like probably after like the final part of the season airs for War of the
Hmm.
Underworld.
Yeah, we won't be doing a podcast on Sword Art Online for a while, so don't expect one in the near current in the future unless for like a long time.
Okay,
All right,
so
so why don't we get to the part that I think everyone's looking forward to the most? What do you think are the best parts of Demon Slayer? Like what things what do you think Demon Slayer does right? At
hmm,
least the anime does. I don't know what the manga does because I'm not a manga reader for Demon Slayer because it and I also heard it recently ended
yeah,
this week.
it did. Wow. Okay, so the things I like most about the anime is the art style and like kind of just the like screenplay is very good. Like it flows very nicely, and that's something that translates very well in the manga too. Like there's no like drawn out kind of sequences. There's not very many like blank pages because like they have like blank pages or whatever, but it's all filled in with either like very detailed like hand drawn stuff or whatever that like sets the atmosphere of the pause or just in general great dialogue that like travels between characters and develops their characters in specific ways, I guess. And also, my favorite part of the
And
series was how they did the last few episodes with the transitions.
you
It
mean
was
in
so
the
nice.
recovery arc?
Yes,
Hmm.
the comedy is pretty good.
I think
It's
yeah.
very good
I
for the
definitely
show
think that
that it has that layer of comedy.
yeah, the recovery arc definitely had a lot more comedy and dialogue compared to the rest of the previous arcs of the anime. I will say, now moving on to my favorite parts of Demon Slayer, definitely the animation. It's amazing to look out. Visually, Demon Slayer is a work of art. The animation flows smooth. The animation flows very steadily. It's very crisp. It's dynamic. It's just very pleasing to look at. And one thing I really like of about Demon Slayer is how the relationships of the characters evolve over time because especially in the amount of time we're given because I remember when
Cause
I first
yeah, like
encountered
this,
Inosuke.
yeah, like all of season one is relatively. There's not too much going on, but there is like a decent amount of stuff going on that like nothing feels kind of sudden or rushed, which is
Mhm.
which is kind of good because they could have made like all of season one literally just like the fights pretty much, and then meeting the Hashira or something, Like you could have been meeting the Hashira in like episode 5 or something. Like they could have just like decided to like skip most of the training arc. It's like, oh, Tanjiro went training, or they show him going down the hill once or something to show how great the animation is, and then that would be
They
relatively.
adapted almost every little detail of his training from the manga, and I think that's what made his characterization pay off a lot more. Is because
Yeah,
we know how he was trained compared to the other Demon Slayers. Because the other Demon Slayers were a joke.
because in terms of like shonens, I think the two best ways to like develop characters are either have your initial characters relatively mysterious, like you see their surface layer personality, but over the course of the whole show you develop their like underneath like personality and whatever, and like you develop from underneath the surface. So then on the face, like you have the good face picture from the beginning, which makes it a pretty popular show. But then you get that supporting layer of character development, or you make it to where it's all just out front, kind of like kind of how with Tanjiro, like you kind of feel like he doesn't necessarily have anything that isn't like being talked about with his like character development, or like at certain parts of the shows, like you see how he's like grown from where he was in the past, and I think I'm kind of losing my train of thought a bit, but what I'm saying
Yeah, I
is
think
that
that's
like
about time to stop.
they did a good job with how he's developing as a character, I guess.
Yeah, they build up they slowly build up his characterization to which it doesn't make the viewers feel lost or confused on the characterization for our main character.
hmm Like they gradually build him up instead of, because
Hmm.
like if you think about basically what I was doing with the reference of like the other character type of development that works. I was referring to Natsu from Fairy Tail, because you could watch like maybe like the first season or whatever, which is like 54 episodes or something, or like yeah, I think it's like 48 maybe. But in that expanse of time, you do get quite a lot of like underlying character development, but he's always still the same on the face. But then you get onto like later arcs and that kind of stuff, and through that whole time, he's had so much more time to develop as a character that it really the payoff really is seeing like his character being brought out to the fullest, which basically I think happened in the Dragon Cry movie. Like that movie was good. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah. And I think now we should move on to like some of the more important characters and how well they were and
yes.
how like they were treated and how dynamic they were. Because I think one thing that Demon Slayer is pushed through is how deep and developed the characters are, especially Zenitsu.
Like Zenitsu has like quite a decent bit of backstory, which is what I like about it. Like they're not just going through the thing and then they give you backstory. Like they give you backstory during when events are happening. So it's almost like it's being retold, which is another way of like developing characters and stories that really works well. Because Demon Slayer does a thing where it is being told like it's a story that happened in the past, and then the characters, when you're actually like interacting, the characters are interacting with each other, and when there's like fights and stuff, then it goes into like flashbacks and stuff, which makes it more like a world moving forwards. So it's clashing with two different directions of development, and it ultimately leads from the very middle, which is where the story starts out as, and it slowly moves it all the way to the side, so then you get the full timeline basically of
Mhm.
generally the whole
Yeah, Demon
entire series
Slayer
as a whole.
whenever Demon Slayer brings in events from the past, it's usually whenever the events are relevant to what's happening in the present. Especially whenever we see Zenitsu, whenever we see him doing his previous training, when either he's whining to his granddaddy or he's
He
standing on
climbs
his
up
own
the
two
tree
feet,
and gets struck by lightning.
it's usually because the backstories that are being introduced to us are relevant to what's happening in the present.
Yeah, because
So I think that's what makes the backstories that we do experience in Demon Slayer, they don't feel rushed or forced.
yeah, because the episodes that characters are introduced, you like get some sort of backstory, or at least because how like it worked with Shinobu is that like the character was introduced and everybody thought she was like kind of crazy or whatever, but then you get to like the recovery arc and that gave like your backstory and that kind of stuff, and like really it's more of just like the
Mm-hmm.
outward and being developed from the bottom up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a few misconceptions about Shinobu when I first saw
Oh,
her.
people thought she
I
was
thought sh I
crazy.
thought she was very Yeah, I thought she was very sadistic
Yeah.
and very sarcastic. However, whenever Tanjiro sees past her behavior, we get to see that Shinobu isn't the way she is
She's like
because
very
she
caring, but
wants
she's
to be.
also very like supportive. Like because
Yeah, she's very
she
assertive.
definitely encourages the characters to do like difficult tasks and stuff because that's basically part
Oh
of
my!
what their job is. But then
Hey, she got Zenitsu to finally get started on his training.
and like
I'm your
when
number one fan, Zenitsu.
oh yeah, like literally when but a point that's probably even more like showing that she's supportive of like all the characters and stuff is when she like finds Zenitsu after he survived from like the spider poison or whatever. Like she basically like
Mhm.
compliments how well he survived against the poison because like she literally knows how like that type of poison stuff like works and how difficult and like
Yeah.
experienced you technically have to be to actually survive from it.
And Shinobu uses poison herself
Yeah,
because
like
her arms are too weak to chop off a demon's head. She uses poison
oh,
in her
another
blade.
another thing that the manga does extremely well is the like transition panels between chapters. Like the author draws a bunch of like little like lore tidbits or like answers questions or whatever. But one of them was literally about arm wrestling strength. Shinobu was like one of the lowest ones, but like Tanjiro was even weaker than Shinobu technically or something. Wait, no, that I
Oh,
got
really?
that wrong. But like the mist dude or whatever, like he's slightly stronger than Tanjiro. Uh but yeah, there's also like information about like the class systems and how like the Demon Slayer ranks work. Like they showed one panel like in the anime just showing the general ranks, but then there's also general like hierarchy and that kind of stuff. Because like you definitely can
Mhm.
become like literally the titles of uh whatever they're called, the Hashira, the titles for the Hashira literally basically as soon as one of the Hashira is out of commission or whatever, they either like force them to stay on like as the Hashira, or they just like find the next best person basically. So it's not necessarily like you have to work a whole bunch to get up there, but if you do, like I think I'm not sure if there is anything about like kicking people off the Hashira or whatever for being lazy, but I bet that's probably something later on in the series that happens or something like that. I don't know. There's definitely like variations on like what different like Hashira's purposes are though, which is an interesting thing about the
Yeah.
series because it's not like they're all just badass demon fighting warriors that like don't speak at all and use water breathing and whatever and literally say, "Oh, you're the person I met a few years ago." Basically give you character development in season 1 and and probably season 2 because he's literally not very involved, at least in the first few volumes. But enough
Yeah,
about that kind
Giyu
of
is
stuff.
definitely someone who's very standoffish. He's very dedicated to his ideals of seeing that demons are considered a threat. They are very dangerous, but in some ways his point of view was very naive and one-sided.
Like I especially think that's the case with like his relation with Shinobu because Shinobu kind of like messes around with him and like he just kind of ignores her because he like only sees like the outward whatever. Doesn't see how like caring she is and whatever. And so like
Hmm.
that's like the only character development he gets. And it's based off of what you think the character development for Shinobu is at that certain point in the series. And then when you get to the recovery arc, like you see stuff's like a little bit different than it was before.
Hmm.
So you actually technically get more Giyu character development during that, even though he's technically not even in that part.
No, and now that we've kind of covered that, I think we should move on to some of the side characters. We've already covered Shinobu, but I also wanted to cover. I was thinking maybe a little bit of Zenitsu, Inosuke,
Inosuke is definitely a
and I think another
interesting character
and I think
too.
another one of the characters I think we should cover is maybe one of the Hashira,
Which
maybe
one are you
Gyu,
interested
or
in?
possibly the other. I don't remember his name. You could probably say his name, but he
The
had
is it?
gray hair. He looked like
Oh,
Bakugo
that
from My
dude.
Hero Academia.
Yeah, I don't remember his name right now because he doesn't have his own arc dedicated to him yet. So, but yeah.
Because I remember you mentioning that he does have a development arc after the Mugen Train arc in the manga.
Which silver hair dude are you talking about? The dude with the green sword or the dude with the two swords and the ninja outfit? That's and he's technically
Gr the Green Sword,
green
single
sword. Yeah,
blade.
he's not in the manga yet really. But
Because in the anime, it just made him look like a jerk. I'm
I
sorry,
mean,
but
he kind of probably is a jerk least from what at least from what I know. But yeah.
mhm.
And honestly, if you want to talk about jerks and whatever, like there's a few characters in the series that like on outward appearance or whatever from like fan art and whatever, like you kind of get a different idea of what like their personalities and stuff are or whatever. Because with this last volume, volume 12, there's one Hashira in particular that I was not expecting as much of like a kind of high up in the hierarchy kind of sense, you know what I mean? Like he's like thinks like he's better than everybody and is like you you must not even do whatever like he's literally a bully. It's hilarious, but he like doesn't even realize he's a bullying. It's funny. But yeah. That's later on in the series. But I guess Inosuke now because Inosuke was raised by wild boars. Yo, guys, so we're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
talk about Inosuke after this ad break. And we're back with the Otaku Taku podcast. And today's subject at the moment is
Why is it
Inosuke's
always
character.
me
I
with
don't
technical
know.
difficulties?
I don't know, dude, but we needed like a good ad break, I guess, because we're like 30 minutes in about.
I guess you could mention like put in a few dub clips because I will say, and this is like maybe the last thing we may talk about on the podcast. I don't know. I don't because I watched the entire series dubbed. I've not
Yeah,
watched the sub for Demon. Quinlan has.
yes, I
I've only
watched the
watched the dubbed.
subbed. I've seen clips of the
He's
dub.
only seen a few clips. Yeah, Quinlan's seen a few clips of the dub. He because Alex Lee, the English voice actor for Zenitsu, has his own YouTube channel. Why don't we link his channel in the description?
Probably I will do that.
Hmm. But yeah, I definitely think that when the Demon Slayer trailers came out for the dub, there were definitely a lot of questions, right? Especially with Tanjiro and Inosuke's voice. I mean, everyone praised Zenitsu. I mean, it didn't really show him screaming. They showed his deep voice rather than his screams. I think they wanted to save that for late when the actual show was airing on Toonami.
Yeah.
It's a monster!
Neither of them have fully healed up as of yet, so...
What?
So they like shared in the clips like his deeper kind of voice, like his normal speak.
Yeah, in the trailers they showed his deeper voice.
Really? Thank you so much.
Which was already really good, but I think what makes Zenitsu's performance so fantastic by Lex Lee is that it's the screams.
The screams
they're just very
are
well,
so
very
good.
well.
The screams, and even in the sub, they're so good.
And
that was my favorite part of.
I mean, even in
the recovery arc,
even in the dub, it sounds very well connected to what the sub version sounds like.
yeah.
And and one thing I asked Alexis Lee in his YouTube comments is, how many times do you go to the bathroom during a recording session because you drink so much water?
Yeah. That's funny.
I know it sounds like a weird question, but I'm hoping that gets his attention.
Yeah.
Because he's usually known to look through his YouTube comments.
I mean, most YouTubers actually do look through their comments, unless they're a big, large corporation.
Yeah, but and Inosuke definitely got a lot of criticism when the trailers came out, and I think that was because that was like one of his weaker lines in the dub. Because Bryce Papenbrook voiced Inosuke in the dub. Bryce Papenbrook is known for voicing Eren Yeager and Kirito.
Yeah.
And in the sub version, the Japanese voice actor for Kirito voices Inosuke. And the subs already sounds pretty good, but I watched
so it's the same actor. So it's the sub and dub equivalent of the actor for Kirito.
Yes.
But
the reason why they
in an
put
Oscar
Bryce
voice,
Papenbrook
basically.
as Inosuke was because that was the same decision the Japanese voice actors did.
I mean, honestly, that was a good call. However, I think Todd Haberkorn would have been an excellent choice if he was not preoccupied with the Drifter from Destiny 2.
All right, Mavericks. Ready to see what you're fighting today? Scorn approaching.
It's about time someone taught you respect, little man.
Someone like you? I know you all keep tabs on me.
Yeah, you've been straying. You don't even use his name no more.
Well, that's why I'm still breathing, brother. Gambit is a chance at salvation. Take it.
What is it?
You'll see.
Is it for me?
It's for everyone. Alexa.
Well, what does it do?
Alexa, what do you do?
Last time I fought the Vex, my crew rode their gate network. No one survived.
Because that was definitely a large undertaking, because it's like 40 or so
I have not
minutes of just
seen
straight
Todd
clips.
Haberkorn.
I've
not seen Todd Haberkorn
he
in
does the
any
best.
of roles like
he's the best. He's my favorite voice actor. I'm gonna say that because he's literally Natsu, and he's the Drifter from Destiny 2. Two very good characters that benefit from the voice. Oh, and he's also Ryuga from Beyblade. Childhood memories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we first saw Bryce Papenbrook in like full episodes of Demon Slayer, I think people now started to like his voice. Like Okay, I'm gonna. Do you remember when Inosuke like bent his back and put his head
Yeah.
under his legs when he was standing up? Why don't you put the clip on right now because they nailed that dub.
Probably. Yeah, I will.
Singing his own praises like that? Give me a break.
Let me demonstrate what else I'm capable of.
Stop it!
That sounds cool.
So yeah, surf
Wow,
video here.
that dub sounded so great. Epic.
Yeah,
Epic,
that
epic.
laugh though. Yeah, and I think that's where Bryce Papenbrook, like all the criticism at the beginning, kind of faded away. Is that when we saw Inosuke's dub voice a lot more, I think we started to get used to it.
Yeah.
And I actually started to like Bryce Papenbrook. I thought he did, for the role that he got with if he was casted to,
I mean,
he adapted pretty.
If the voice actor's familiar, but they do like an actual good thing with like whatever character they've set in place, like you can always do like the same type of voices or whatever and get cast for that voice or whatever, but then you're not getting like more experience with stuff. Like I think this is definitely a chance for him to get like more experience and not necessarily like a
Yeah.
popularized kind of role like with SAO kind of probably was with the anime. Like they probably already knew it was going to be a popular anime as soon as they did it because they could make a big
Well, we already
franchise
saw.
out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were also complaints about Tanjiro's voice when the trailers came out. They thought that he sounded a little too soft spoken for his dub role.
I mean,
Because I never knew.
He's supposed to sound soft-spoken, kind of like he's definitely a carrying character too, which
Yeah, but people were complaining that he sounded more like an adult rather than a teenager.
yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with that, but it would be kind of annoying if we had just standard generic like too young of people. It would take like some level of seriousness out of it.
And it's sometimes hard to find a role for Tanjiro because he's not your typical.
I just imagine
shonen
Ash
character.
from Pokemon playing Tanjiro.
Oh my goodness.
Ash from the original Johto or whatever. That would be
Oh my goodness.
that would be funny. What if someone there's enough voice lines for Ash that you could probably make like a Demon Slayer dubbed version with Ash Ketchum. I want to do one with Todd Haberkorn for Inosuke though. Like maybe during a fight scene or something.
Yeah, because Bryce Papenbrook and Todd Haberkorn definitely have very similar voices.
Yeah.
I could definitely see Todd Haberkorn being a alternate casting for Inosuke.
Yes, that is my alternate.
But I think Bryce
reality that I
Papenbrook did a
choose
good enough job.
to want. Yeah, like definitely
And-
adjusted to the character a lot better than people probably expected because they were like, "Oh, it's Kirito's voice." It's like, let's listen to some Kirito voice lines, and it's like nothing actually was practically the same because they're two totally different characters.
And now let's move on to Alex Lee as Zenitsu. My goodness, his performance is fantastic.
Yes.
And I especially love that
true
one
spectacle.
clip that he posted on his YouTube channel. It's a monster!
It's a monster.
Yeah, you can probably put that clip in right now.
Yes.
And you'll just have
Wow,
to credit
what a good dub.
Alex Lee.
With some ufotable epic bumper ointment, you can get those rusties out or whatever. I don't know. Rusties medicated bumper ointment.
Alright. And and now we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Demon
music.
Slayer medicated wisteria ointment. I made a lore reference, I guess, because the wisteria, the flowers.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What did you mostly think of the soundtracks and like the vocals in the Demon Slayer soundtrack? Because the original soundtrack was composed by Yuki Kajiura, who also did Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel, Madoka Magica, and I believe Sword Art Online.
Yeah, like the music's definitely kind of it's pretty good. Like when you hear it, you're like, that's pretty good.
There's a
music.
lot of vocals.
Like music's always good as long as you're like, hey, that was pretty good music.
Yeah, the music definitely sets the tone for Demon Slayer because there's some parts where it sounds really creepy, and then it also has that very traditional Japanese music style to it, like with the woodwinds and the violins.
Yeah, which it's nice to have a lot of that kind of tradition in it, because what sets it apart as like a sword fighting anime, I guess you could put in that set of like classification, is that like with things like Fate Stay Night and that kind of stuff, like there's definitely aspects of like Japanese culture and stuff, but it's not so much in terms of like the fighting and that kind of stuff, because like it's based around like different like periods of time and that kind of stuff, which is cool because then you actually like learn some more stuff about stuff, and you learn the most important thing that you will ever learn.
Historical.
That King Arthur was a girl. That is the most important thing you will ever learn.
Oh, Nasu.
Yes. It's a very good idea from a marketing standpoint, especially with Japanese culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's for Fate. That's for another podcast, though.
Yes, but
and,
in terms of like Demon Slayer,
the Demon Slayer soundtrack definitely set up the atmosphere, especially in the fights.
Like Demon
because
Slayer
we get a blend
feels more
of
Japanese, which is nice. But like the music is definitely very good in the fights.
Okay. And now it's the question probably most of your viewers are wondering. Who do you think is best girl in Demon Slayer?
I'm gonna say Shinobu is definitely best girl. However, the pink-haired lady, I forget the name right now, is definitely, with the character development in Volume 12, is definitely one of my favorite characters now. Yes.
You mean the girl with the pink and green
I'm gonna get my book and remember the name.
Okay. But yeah, in the meantime, I'll definitely explain who my best girl for Demon Slayer is. I actually don't have one because I didn't like fall in love with too many of the female characters in Demon Slayer. But I think that like I do give some respect to those who do like Shinobu and Nezuko.
There's only like 2 of them. Well, I mean, technically 3 after you get a bit further in the manga, but...
So what was her name again? The one with the green and pink pigtails? I'm sure you can post like a clip, a video clip right now of her name, because they do say her name in the dub clip.
Why is she not in the front?
And one thing that Quinlan was doing in his off time is that he actually found a really good body pillow design for Shinobu, and it wasn't too not safe for work. So I thought, hey, you should pick that up.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And I'm just waiting for Quinlan to find that girl's name. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry, but she wasn't best girl, which is Shinobu.
Just looking through this part of the manga just makes me smile because it was so good. There's so many good parts.
Yeah, well, don't get too carried away. We're recording right now.
Yeah. What do you mean too carried away? Darn. What is...
Like too carried away and like rereading.
I'm not really.
And I also have to
reading,
mention
scanning.
that Demon Slayer volumes are coming out back to back every month now.
Coming out every month
in
now,
2020.
which is nice.
Because the manga finished over in Japan, they're going to be releasing them like crazy over in the West because it's gotten so popular. I mean, Viz has been upping the ante with all the releases of Demon Slayer.
Ooh, one of the midway point panels in between chapters is definitely going to save me. Okay. Oh, it's Mitsuri. Yes. This one panel is literally of the uniforms though, because how Mitsuri's is like different than Shinobu's is. And Mitsuri
Oh, that's
asks,
her name, Mitsuri.
Yeah, she literally asks why Shinobu's is not like how hers was or whatever. And it was literally because Shinobu burned hers. Like she
burned hers.
She
Never,
burned her,
don't
like,
explain it. Don't explain it to me.
It's just one of like the little side panels that like it gives you like just funny kind of character development kind of stuff. It was very funny. I like that part of the manga. Definitely makes it worth collecting.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna pretty much end the podcast here now.
Yes.
So why don't, and I know this video is definitely a lot more unorganized compared to the last one of ReZero, because we're definitely trying to get this recording in quick. But I think that's something we both Quinlan and I can approve on, because our discussions tend to go pretty off topic.
Yeah.
So I think that's something we're going
to
to improve on.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's something that most podcasts are known for doing. They're mostly known for staying on topic, and we struggle with that because there's usually a lot of stuff we talk about. And one thing, it's quarantine right now.
The biggest podcast I listen to with the greatest possible rating you could possibly ever have, a grand old rating of 10 stars out of 5. It definitely goes off topic, and that's the whole point of it. So it's definitely, you can have good podcasts that just follow whatever path it leads.
Yeah, because it doesn't hurt to sometimes go off topic. It's I'm just talking about it from an organization
it's definitely good to have
point of view.
like references to like other works that people probably are familiar with at some point.
Yeah, like compare and contrast.
Yeah.
And for our next podcast, I definitely want to be doing something special.
What kind of special thing? Oh wait. What were you gonna say with the special thing?
Well, we're not going to be revealing it until Quinlan and I will be talking about it as soon as we cut the recording. But our next podcast is going to be a little bit of a twist to it, because I actually went out and bought something, and we're going to do a comparison.
Ooh. Oh yeah, that one. Is that going to be the next one? Because I haven't watched the series yet.
It's okay, yeah. We're gonna. It's only 12 episodes.
It'll probably be next month then when we get that one out.
And then we can do, and I'll definitely definitely watch God Eater, because I want to watch God Eater.
Yeah. Okay, and then basically the last thing I wanted to say is, if you go to the Discord and go to Otaku Taku, there's I did actually get some Demon Slayer stickers, and there's an example of a few of them. So I have like Nezuko ones, Shinobu ones, all sorts of stuff, and then also various Hashira. Like I think I have all of them except I think a few I don't have. And then
you can see it. I think, is it on the off topic one?
No, it's on Otaku Taku. But yeah, then there's also the Demon Slayer box sets that are coming out, which I think is just it's nice, but they're expensive.
They look nice. The artwork is really good. I will say though they haven't released Volume 2 yet. I'm probably not going to buy these volumes until probably maybe 1 or 2 years later. I think they'll still be in print for a long time. It's a popular anime.
Yeah,
I expect it to be in print
yeah,
for a long
definitely.
time, like Your Lie in April.
Like
Because I own Your Lie in April.
the biggest appeal of like the box to me is like the artwork and stuff. Like the art cards are really good.
Yeah.
Like, and it also comes
Yeah,
with like a book.
like
Like
those
that's
are what the
definitely a
Japanese
very-
Blu-rays look like the digipacks or the Japanese volumes.
I definitely like art cards and whatever, and there's been some
Yeah,
very good
they're nice
anime
to
that have
collect.
had good art cards. Like dude, I was
The
looking at
original
I was
Code
looking at the
Geass
K
Collector's
art
Edition had
cards in the
art
video.
cards with them.
Yeah. Ooh, yes, and I
But I
am
think
getting
that
those movies soon, probably, hopefully. That'll be nice.
yeah. Mhm. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yes, that is it for the Otaku Taku podcast. Please leave a rating down below, I guess. And please don't leave the negative rating because that would not be good. But yeah, just feel free to follow
But
us
hey,
on Discord or
you
whatever.
can't.
I'll put that link
Yeah.
in the bottom. But yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
because we're definitely active on Discord.
Yes, at least somewhat. I definitely posted a few things in the Wii-A-Boo. Posted one meme in there and a picture of a Wii, so yeah, that's fun. But yeah, so
Oh yeah,
that's probably gonna
I haven't
wrap
seen
it.
it.
That's probably gonna wrap it up for the Otaku Taku podcast this week. But yeah, stay tuned for next week. Otaku Taku out.
How for sure